There's One Punch Man. All right, let's go. Let's take a peek at the Overwatch Reddits here before we get into too many tubes. We'll turn it into a video and see what's going on here. Alrighty, One Punch Man. Yep, everyone loves crossovers. Apparently, Blizzard is hopping on that super hot crossover reaction, which Fortnite has done in spades at this point, because the kids love stuff that doesn't look anything like their hero while playing their hero. To be fair, they've already done that for a little bit with other Blizzard games. I think they had a crossover with World of Warcraft and also one with StarCraft. I miss the StarCraft stuff. Have I seen the new Ant-Man movie yet? Yeah, no, I don't plan on seeing it. I heard it's pretty bad. I also heard it's supposed to be the start of the next batch of Marvel movies, which I also don't care about. I'm basically done with hero stuff at this point, superhero stuff. Unless someone does it better and different. Marvel formula has basically got a lot of agenda in it, and the movies themselves aren't even good anymore. Like they don't really understand why people look at comics or look at like shonen like movies, for instance, or manga. Why people like shonen stuff. And shonen basically has a formula, and if you guys don't know what the shonen formula is, you just need to take a look at Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z basically perfected the shonen formula, which is get stronger, your enemies get stronger than you, they hammer you down, you go through a growth phase, you get stronger than your enemies, you do it all over again. As bad, yeah, I've heard is pretty horrible. Yeah, and that's putting aside agenda that happens to be in it too. The putting aside the political agenda, that is just like, that's like just opening your mouth and shoving shit down your throat. But putting that aside, like, it wouldn't be bad if maybe the rest of the movie was good, but it's just all bad. It's just, there's no redeeming quality to it anymore. So why would I sit through basically an 2-hour long lecture course telling me what to do, what to wear, what to think, instead of, having a little bit of control over my life in the form of a shitty movie? I don't know. That looks like the script was written by ChatGPT at this point. I think at this point the meme is, I think Marvel movies are just written by ChatGPT is what it comes down to. They just put in criteria, checks boxes, and it shits out a script, which is terrible. I would actually not be surprised if script for some or all the current Marvel movies is written by ChatGPT. And someone just slapped a name on it. I thought it was originally Adderall. I think it's just ChatGPT. That's even lazier than an Adderall, is ChatGPT. Let's have someone tailor it slightly. Anyways, patch notes, guys. See if there's anything worth talking about in here. There's a crossover. Yep. Made changes, some adjustments made to the distance at which you can hear enemy footsteps. We've continued to refine this change and found a nice middle ground between where it was in Season 2 and where it's prior to today's patch. So they're changing footstep sounds. Once again, if putting aside maybe you not wanting people to hear something from far away, right? Render distance. There's 100% ways that you can increase the number of sound channels. So the maximum number of sounds that can play concurrently in a video game either can be hardware accelerated, which it used to be with EAX, for instance, and then OpenAL before EAX didn't push that, or Creative didn't push that, and then shit the bed. Hardware accelerated audio, or you can just increase basically the overhead associated with more sounds playing and mixing. Up at the pinnacle of EAX, I believe they're up to 128 concurrent sounds playing at exactly the same moment. Now most games will play 16 or possibly 32. It depends on the game. And while that might sound like a lot of sounds, it's not when you got a lot of shit going on in the game at once, especially in battles, and then it comes down to priority of sounds. Which sounds will take priority over other sounds and shove them basically out of the mix. Yeah. And that's one way of saving on CPU overhead, in which a lot of games do, and they suffer because sometimes you need to hear everything that's going on around you, and that's not always what's happened. So here we are with not always being able to hear people's footsteps when they're sneaking up on you. In games like Overwatch, for instance, you won't hear like an enemy firing unless they're firing close to your position, not like near you, but rather shooting towards your position. There's something to do with that. So like if you hear someone, if someone's firing at you, you'll be able to hear them compared to someone that's not really firing at you, just shooting in general. Yeah, which is also fucking weird because you should be able to hear both of them and should be able to mix both of them properly. Once again, game audio, guys, I've talked about this before in the past. Game audio today is not anywhere in any way, shape, or form compared to what it used to be. I know that's kind of crazy to say, but in today's games, we have much worse audio than we used to in like the early 2000s, before consoleization took over. The early 2000s, where EAX was basically at its pinnacle as far as positional audio goes, mixing, vertical height, not Doppler. Well, I mean effects in general, Doppler effects. What are they called? Sound stages. There's a name for them, but basically things, the way the rooms will sound different depending on what the room's made out of. They had different effects for that, and you could build them into your games very easily. Build them into your games, and then that all went away. It all went away when consoleization took over, and no one saw because everyone's playing with stereo anyways. There's no reason to have advanced sound, right? Just left to right, and that's all you need. Yeah, pretty terrible. And now, still to this day, putting aside max sound channels, we still have problems with verticality. Most ARM engines do not do HRTF, which is head-related transfer function, which is you being able to, your ears, because you have two holes inside your head, most people do, two holes which will receive sound even though like it's like they don't rotate, right? Like your eyeballs don't rotate and look at it. It can position where stuff is in relationship to you, and you can manipulate the way that sounds and make it sound like something's above or below you or inside. The Dolby surround sound in Overwatch is pretty terrible. It's not as good as some other games have today, and that's just the way it is. Probably some of the best sound in video games is probably like Fortnite's positional audio, and even then that has problems. It's not in any way, shape, or form what it used to be. And Creative shit the bed on that one. They decide that they're just going to make cheap SoCs, so just chips that they can throw in someone's computer and compete with real tech. And even though they still make dedicated sound cards to this day, they're generally made with just a cheap chip, and like they don't really go out of their way to make something that's gaming related, except for just branding and slapping some LEDs on the side of it. They don't do what they used to do 20 years ago. No one does. And here we are, and with game engines that can't do sound properly, and no one knows they want it because it doesn't exist. You can't compare yourself to something that doesn't exist and go, oh, this is so much better, right? Wow, why doesn't this game have this? Instead, we're trying to put ray tracing in this shit when the sound is horrible. There's a couple things in gaming that kind of had a peak, and then they kind of went away, and in doing so, the things got worse. Physics was another one, with the PhysX revolution, with Agia, prior to them shitting the bed and then selling off to NVIDIA, because they still kind of exist for NVIDIA has a PhysX driver, right? They still own the rights and basically all the IP from Agia. NVIDIA doesn't do anything with it. They basically just bought them out and then stopped. They bought out the competition, and then they just got rid of it, which would have been so much nicer to have accelerated physics in video games, well-made accelerated physics in video games compared to ray tracing. Much better usage of GPU processing power. You don't need to have a PPU, which is physics processing engine back in the day. Physics processing unit back in the day. You could use an old GPU, multiple GPUs, old GPU, and do physics operations on it. They don't. And the only time that physics is generally used in video games, putting aside some very basic ones like gravity, right, and maybe something bumping into you, is client side. So if you ever see PhysX interactions, it's almost always client. So you can take it out and it's just eye candy. And that doesn't really make for good gameplay mechanics. Physics gameplay mechanics can actually be really fucking cool and really interesting. And they don't do it anymore. It's not a thing. Like for instance in Overwatch, they don't have like ice on the ground, right? They kind of have like slow fields. Occasionally certain heroes have slow fields that kind of inhibit your ability to move. They aren't really physics drawn. It just slows down how fast your character moves. Like the movement speed of your character. Most physics in video games are not actually physics calculations. They're just rules that they apply. And you could say physics are that way, but physics actually goes through a calculation when something interacts with it. And rules generally don't. Anyways, PhysX died out. More importantly, good audio died out with EAX, and Creative shit the bed on that one, and Windows fucked them in the ass while they're shitting the bed. They were shitting in the bed while Windows was fucking them in the ass, and video game companies were all enamored with console plebs because they're basically the new generation of gamers, which were really young at the time. And now they can afford computers, so they buy computers, and now they want better stuff because as they realize they have disposable income and it's not just what their parents throw at them. Anyways, let's keep going on with the patch notes here, guys. Challenges, don't care. Challenges. We're taking a snapshot of each player's final stats during the match and persisting it on the tabbed scoreboard during post-match. Previously, wow. This is why work from home ended for Blizzard. This is why it's ending, because something that should have been in the game on Overwatch 2's launch, it's finally in the game. We're like, hey, where's the rest of the stats that I actually want to fucking look at? And everyone leaves the match and they take their stats with them. Weird. And then the stats don't work in the history browser either. Weird. Sometimes they do, but a lot of time they won't, especially if you restart your game. Okay. Good job, Blizzard. This is why work from home ended. But the management doesn't understand the woes of the employees, and that's why work from home doesn't happen. No, work from home doesn't happen because it allows a lot of people to slouch and they don't communicate properly. Despite the fact that they might think they communicate properly, they don't. Well, it'd be nice if everyone could work from home and do things properly. They can't. And sometimes people need human interaction or someone basically to be behind them cracking the whip in order to get them to do what they need to do. That's just part of life. That's just part of people dealing with people stuff. So, right there. Fix a bug causing large parties to wait longer in queue than intended. Probably wasn't a bug. It probably has something to do with the restrictiveness of the matchmaker. Which, if they're forcing a party which is going to have very, very random MMR and will completely fuck up any game that they'll probably be a part of because they're pre-made. Only going against pre-mades or actually playing against a balanced match. Yeah, let's just tweak that a bit and turn down the restrictiveness on that a little bit so it's a little bit more lax, and they'll just, as long as they don't play against them again, it won't matter. And that's what I generally see is when I play against pre-mates, I never see them again. Unless it's a 2-stack, I never see the pre-mate again. I'll play against pre-mates, it'll be one and done, and we'll usually get rolled, but you won't see them again. So my guess is Blizzard is offsetting the fact, just like with dynamic difficulty adjustment that we talked about earlier. I'm pretty sure Blizzard is allowing pub stomping because it makes them money. Because when people are having fun, oh my god, guys, we're having so much fun. We completely decimated the enemy. Yeah, this is so much fun, guys, because we just absolutely roll over everyone. It's not even a challenge for us. Wow, this is so amazing. Yeah, not something you want for both sides because, I mean, it makes it too easy. And I guess some kids think that they're actually enjoying things, just like some people that cheat think that's actually their skill and that they're having fun because they're actually that skilled. And everyone that's talking to them is talking to them because they're as skilled as it seems. Don't believe in that. Overwatch 1 did not allow that. You'd only play against other pre-mades, and especially in competitive, unless you're in a 2-stack. You definitely play against complete 4 and 5 mans in Overwatch 2, except you just don't play against them again. That's what I've definitely noticed is you will not play against the same people again, the same pre-made again, unless this is 2-stack. They just go away. Even if the queues are really slow, you just don't see them again. Noxious shit. And they don't show you when you're playing against pre-meds. You can surmise it based on the amount of teamwork, the amount of communication, how well people respond to what's happening around them, like a flank, for instance. Completely different. Completely fucking different. You'll see an entire team come to save a Mercy that is behind their team getting hammered. The entire team will turn around and help her when you're playing against a pre-med, because that's obviously usually the queen of the lobby, person of interest to the male individuals in that lobby. So they have to save the queen, right? A matchmaker will now prioritize putting parties together which have a similar delta between the highest and lowest rated players. Okay. We've made improvements that should help reduce unranked queue times and increase competitive match quality. Quick play. Never really been a problem. I think like waiting like 2 to 3 minutes for a balanced match is not an issue. It's when you get into like the 10 minutes that it's start after worrying. If I'm waiting like 2 minutes for a match, that's not a big deal. And Blizzard doesn't even want that. It seems like they want to get the queues under like a minute. Otherwise, people are going to freak out and leave. Competitive mystery heroes added to competitive play. Okay. All right. Yeah, because people, that's definitely going to be fun. It's not. Once again, this game needs, I've mentioned this for prior to Overwatch 2, this game needs an actual casual mode. It needs like what TF2 has, so like 10v10 or 12v12. It's the same. Maybe in 10v10, 9v9 would probably be accurate. Probably 10v10 with the ability to pick the same heroes, and then you could pick how many of each type of hero you want, like DPS, tank, and support, because that allows for more of a meat grinder approach where it's not about personal skill and getting picked and then it's over. And then just raise the amount of like how fast you push the cart or how long it takes you to cap a point, and you just make it so it's more grindery. And that allows people to just fuck around and then just make the games longer. So like TF2 used to be. With TF2, depending on the server, you could get in like I think 32-person servers. They weren't all like what Valve intended to be. I think even bigger than that. I think there's 48-person servers at one point. Despite the fact that the game was supposed to be smaller than that. You've added buttons to the competitive play menu that allow players to easily access tier legend, leaderboard, and competitive progress screens. Wow, something they should have added with the launch of Overwatch 2. This is why work from home ended once again. Players in top 500 now see an animated update of their current position on the leaderboard after each match. Alright, hero changes. Para Surge can now be interrupted. Holy fucking shit. Why? Why would they do that? That's an ultimate. Well, I think Hack is ultimate, isn't it? No. I think her ultimate's like Hack the World. Watch. Sombra is an underplayed hero, and I think she's actually a lot better than people think she is. And not because her DPS is good, it's about the fact that she debuffs. She's like a fucking warlock. Anyone that she debuffs is basically dead. If people know to look for it, they're just dead. And that's a big deal. And especially tanks, that's a big deal. She's a tank shredder in my opinion. And not because she does a lot of damage like Bastion, but because she can hack them and then they're fucked. Like Doomfist that's hacked is basically dead. Nope, Hack is the normal one. EMP is her ultimate. Nope, she can just use her cooldown. And despite the fact that Mei, for instance, got her CC completely removed, Sombra still has the ability just to fuck players, so... Yeah, it's kind of weird that people think that Sombra is bad, and still, like, she's rated pretty poorly on a lot of hero lists. She's not. She's just a debuff hero, and the team needs to play around whoever gets hacked. She can also flank and be really, really fucking horrible in the backline if people are coming out of spawn. But otherwise, like, she's not bad. Especially when people know what to look for. If they look for hack target and focus them, they're basically dead. Okay, so they did some, took out some micro on Ramada, which is you have to swippity swap in order to get more bonus armor. Roadhog got nerfed super hard. All he needed was to have his hook changed, and they nerfed his like in almost entire kit, especially his damage and the way he works. And Chain Hook will usually still kill you, not necessarily because Roadhog one-shots you, but the rest of the team will usually shoot whoever gets hooked, assuming you're a good MMR. Reduce the cooldown. He doesn't need that. Needs his, like, to rebuff his kit. Besides the hook. Instead, they tried to buff the hook again. They don't need to buff the hook. One thing that need to be changed, and it's the one thing that they also changed back. What the fuck? And what about all the other shit in their kit that they did? Wrecking Ball. You can set separate aim sensitivity while transform into a ball. Interesting. They changed Minefield Armed from 1 to 1.25. The big change with Minefield that I don't think they documented was they changed the spread on Minefield. They made it so it gets bigger than it used to be. The spread out of the mines was higher than it was prior to them buffing Wrecking Ball. I'm pretty sure that was not documented in addition to the arming time. And I think that was actually what helped the most because it made it so it's harder for people to get out of it. They basically increased the distance. Buff Zarya slightly. I don't think Zarya is even that bad. I think people just stop playing her because a lot of streamers stop playing her. A lot of people in the gaming community, guys, don't do stuff because they're thinking it through and because they're making an individual decision. A lot of it trickles down from, like, you could actually say, like, a... technological dissonance, is that it? Where it's the... No. Cognitive dissonance, no. Basically, there's like a point of origin for information and the way that people act and what they do. And oftentimes with a lot of communities, especially in video games, and when they get smaller, or more so when they get smaller, in which all the information trickles down from a singular source. So you'll see people start doing stuff, and you'll see metas appear because someone is doing stuff, especially a big streamer in particular. Big streamers, big tubers, have a lot of influence. Influencers have a lot of influence over communities. And as such, you'll actually see what they do will impact what basically other people are doing around them. And changes things. Even if were someone's opinion, which may or may not be correct, will also change how people are doing stuff. I saw this a lot in Dead by Daylight. Depending on what the content creators were doing would change the game from day to day, week to week. Example being Eruption. Eruption was not a big deal up until everyone started using it. Eruption in Dead by Daylight got recently nerfed, but it was something that has been in the game for over a year. It existed in its current form. Well, it was its old form. It's now old form. Over a year, and it was not used at all. And it was not widely used, and people just kind of looked it over because big streamers weren't using it. Big streamers started using it, and they win, and then everyone started using it, and then everyone started bitching about it because everyone was using it, despite the fact that it hadn't changed at all. Its form did not change. It was in the game for over a year, and people just didn't use it. They ignored it. But despite it being in the game for over a year, it eventually reached the point where now it was used so much that people just constantly bitched about it until it got nerfed. Dead by Daylight is a game where BHVR is the game creator is very sensitive to the community, especially the survivors in the community, and they'll oftentimes change whatever they're bitching about because they're the meat and potatoes. It's a 4-to-1 ratio between killers and survivors, and as such, they pander to the survivors' player base because they're what bring in the money. They're what brings in the money. So, and there's a lot of survivors right now. If you look at Twitter on DBD, a lot of survivors that are bitching about killers, basically playing smart, and they're like, "Oh, I'm quitting this game now." But despite the fact, you can look and see there's incentive bonuses in Dead by Daylight, which is if one role, 4-to-1 ratio once again, because it's an asymmetrical horror game, if one role is in more demand than another role, it'll get an incentive bonus. For each killer playing the game, there needs to be 4 survivors. That means there's a 4-to-1 ratio between these guys. Right now, there's a 100% bonus for killer almost all the time. For this one individual, to these 4 guys, there is a 100% bonus for this one guy. Which means these guys, there's a lot more of them than this one guy. And they're trying to incentivize this one guy to show up. Yeah, which isn't the way it goes. When we played Evil Dead, there's a waiting time for this one guy. For the one monster killer. Let's see. Show you guys here. We'll see if it's this way. It's definitely this way during prime time. I've checked off and on throughout the last couple months. Oh, I installed new hardware, so I don't know if the game's going to explode or something. We'll see. Yeah. They oftentimes cater to these four people because there's a lot more of these guys than this one guy. They matter a lot more is basically what it comes down to. Good. For some reason, it moves my mouse to my left screen. Or it did. It doesn't do that anymore for some reason. Pop my mouse to my left screen. Tough. A lot of things in the background, apparently. That being said, new hardware is probably compiling shaders or something. Yep. So if you look here, guys, this is the 4-to-1 ratio. There's 4 of these guys, this one guy. Depending on MMR, it will change the bonus, but I only think there's like 4 different MMRs for the bonus. No one's confirmed this. Someone could actually compile stats on this just by looking at regions and queuing, testing for this bonus every once in a while. Like literally looks here and takes a snapshot, and then uses algorithm to figure out if the snapshot's here or here, and then what the bonus is, which would be very, very easy to do if someone wanted to do that. But anyways, the bonus here is almost always on this guy now. It used to be for survivors after maybe 6 months ago. That has changed. It is now this. But you will see these guys bitching all the fucking time on Twitter. Despite the fact that there is definitely less of these guys playing than these guys are always complaining about these guys and talking about how unfair it is and how broken the game is for this one individual. Because when they lose, they get really angry. They're very spoiled and entitled. I used to talk about spoiled and entitled survivors all the fucking time when I played Dead by Daylight. Very, very spoiled and entitled. And as such, they've come to a certain level of wanting to fuck the killer. And they need to have, just like with dynamic difficulty adjustment, they need to fuck the killer. And if they don't fuck the killer, they get angry. Yeah, it doesn't even matter whether or not they actually deserve to do it. It doesn't matter at this point because they're spoiled and entitled. So these guys always deserve to fuck this one guy. Despite the fact you can clearly see, population-wise, you can clearly see that they're trying to incentivize this one guy to show up. Yeah, this has been like this for probably 2 months at this point, and you still just see survivors bitching on Reddit all the time. Or on forums, and Reddit is very, very survivor-heavy. Extremely survivor-heavy. People say it's equal, it's not. It is definitely not. It hasn't been that way for years. And I played Dead by Daylight, I think for 2 years, we streamed Dead by Daylight. And during that time, definitely seeing the ebb and flow of the game. By the way, as hook camp and tunneler and really fucking good at it long before it became a good idea to use strategy and tactics, when now some streamers talk about strategy and tactics. Yeah, our friend True Talent and Winter, yeah, they love talking about that now. Winter just started doing it. He used to be an absolutely terrible player, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, a year and a half after I started playing, he just started becoming much better. Yeah. And started doing basically almost identically to what I was doing, and then he'd copy my nuances, stuff that I would do on stream. And interesting in and of itself. But yeah, here we are. Plus 100% bonus, guys. It's not like these guys have 100% bonus and these guys are all quitting or something like that. No. This is here. This is fucking here because there's a lot less of these guys than these guys now. Yeah, it's not... By the way, I think my FPS cap disappeared. Yeah, when I reinstalled my drivers, I think it wiped all my shit. I used to have an FPS cap in Dead by Daylight on the NVIDIA control panel. Add again before I forget about it. All my settings got wiped after... I reinstalled my new hardware. Yep. Game has a soft cap in it, which I've talked about in the past. Unrelated. If you don't cap it under the soft cap, you end up with a lot of really weird shit that goes on. Anyways, getting back to the patch notes for Overwatch 2. Side segue there. I don't think Zarya needed a buff. I think she was actually still good. I think a lot of people didn't play her purely because streamers aren't playing her anymore because she's not good, right? I don't think so at all. I think there's a lot of cases where Zarya brings a lot of oppressive damage to the table, and she just has to play more carefully because of her health pool. And people don't take advantage of that. They just do whatever streamers are memeing about. Oh my god, guys, did you see the guy play the ball? He's playing the ball. It's totally ball meta now. It's always balls. It's balls, 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 balls. Let's see. Oh no. Oh no, they buffed the shit out of Ashe. So Bob before was like a turret, but tanks could take aggro from Bob. They've now changed it so Bob functions like Torbjorn's turret. Bob does an insane amount of fucking damage. So if she tags someone once, that person is dead. If she tags that person once, they're now dead. Wow, this is a huge buff to Ashe. This is a huge, huge buff to Ashe. And people will say this isn't. It is. Because Bob does a significant amount of damage. And if Bob is shooting at one target and Ashe is shooting at another target, possibly both these guys can survive. But now if they're 2 and 1, Ashe is immediately going to tag it first before Bob kicks in, and then Bob's going to kick in and DPS it down. I could see potentially team wipes from this. This is pretty absurd. Obviously, people are going to still hide from Bob, but tanks prior to this could actually try to handle Bob. This is also why I try to kill Bob instantly, because Bob is actually one of the most oppressive ults in the game. Simply due to the fact that he will deny an entire area. It's more powerful, much more powerful than May's Blizzard. And Blizzard really needs to address May. May's very, very shit right now. She's pretty bad. Wall's shit. It used to be one of her saving grace used to be her wall. They need to do something with her cryo freezer flamethrower so it actually gives you an incentive to actually get close to people. Slaying people by 50%. It either needs to freeze them or stop them in place like it used to. Stop them in place. Or, freeze them. Or it needs to stop them and stop them from moving until she stops or something. Alright. Lunge. That just is double hop? What is lunge? It is double jump. Basically can double jump more often. Yeah. Don't know if that'll help. That'll make him more fucking annoying. And I guess they're trying to give him the ability to do more trick shots. May's Blizzard Ultimate cast time sometimes led to situations where animation appeared to have been completed, but there was still additional time that it would get interrupted. So change. There's a lot of cases. May you have to throw it at your feet, by the way. I played a shitload of May, not so much in Overwatch 2, but I played a shitload of May in Overwatch 1. You have to throw it at your feet, and then it'll stop D.Va from gobbling it. But at the same time, it'll also prevent it from... If you die while your ult is in the air, it will remove it from the game. You throw it, and you die, before it hits the ground, it'll despawn it. And it makes absolutely no sense in any way, shape, or form. I think Zarya's ult's the same way. That should not exist in the game. And it does, because you threw it, and that's basically it. Just like with Photon, the wall from Symmetra, when you cast it, even if you die, while it's still being cast, it'll still go off. Mei, you cast her ult, and then she dies. It's just gone. It'll disappear. Or if you get stunned, I think, if you get stunned while it's in the air, it'll actually despawn your ult. That used to be a bug. I don't know if it's still in the game, because I don't play a significant amount of Mei right now. That was really, 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 really absurd. And it still can be a problem if you're playing against a Doomfist, for instance. Which is hilarious. Is her entire time between when she throws it till when it starts on the ground, it can be removed from the game. And that's insane. And she's not, once again, a very powerful character to begin with. What? Pharah, in addition to rapidly launching her upwards, jump jets used to always move Pharah forward a small amount, which made the ability feel less responsive when trying to move to the side or backwards. This change now enables a small amount of horizontal movement. Oh my god, she's more agile in the air? That's interesting. Mentioned before, Pharah has become very inferior to the rest of the flying heroes. Guardian Angel Mercy, for instance. Putting aside 5th dimensional, she used to be 6th dimensional, they changed that. Putting aside 5th dimensional fighter jet known as Mercy, her Guardian Angel, her basic ability, is incredibly strong, is actually just better than Pharah can fly. Echo is better at flying in the air than Pharah is. Sojourn is better at flying in the air than Pharah is. Yeah, Sojourn is better at flying than Pharah is. There's a lot of heroes. Baptiste is better at flying in the air than Pharah is. And why is that? That's because he has like a slow fall. He doesn't fall at the normal speed. When he goes up, he actually comes down like slower than normal and it really fucks with your aim. Because you think he's going to come down at like the gravitational rate, and it's not. He like slow falls when he goes up in the air. Probably could figure out eventually if you played against him enough. It is very difficult to deal with though when he's just popping up in there, especially if he has an aimbot. Torso hit volume width increased by 20%. Her torso hit volume was more difficult to hit compared to similar sized heroes. Wow. So they're trying to tone up Sojourn's hit model so she's easier to shoot. Yeah. Baptiste. They buffed his immortality field. Why? What? His immortality field now provides you down to 25% of your health instead of 10 HP. It's not like 25 HP. 25% of your health is a significant amount. That is incredible, considering you can put this on a corner. This is insane. That is absolutely bonkers. So 25% of your HP when you're talking about a Widow, oh, that's like, 40 HP or something. 25% of your HP when you're talking about a 700 HP tank is a lot of fucking health that they just don't lose ever. What? Why would you do that? Baptiste is capable of potent damage and healing output, but often slightly underperforms across many skill levels. This change was to the immortality field. Minimum health threshold will strengthen his utility and enable him more reliably assist his allies in their till the infect ends. So there are a lot of places you can put down immortality field, and it kind of is just permanent till the effect ends, and you can't kill it without overextending dramatically and basically dying. Why would you do this? Why would you give him literally an immortality field? What? Why? Like, that's just a health pool that's just going to be given to heroes that just enter it. Which they get healed up, and then he doesn't need to mess with them anymore. Nor none other healers need to mess with them anymore. Just always at 25% HP. With 10 HP, you still had to micro people in the field, and it could be a tactic to, for instance, DPS down everyone in the field prior to ending instead of shooting the lantern, still suppressing them. So when it ends, you have a chance of killing them. Now you can't do that. When it ends, they're going to be 25% HP, which is probably not going to be enough for you to kill them easily. Assuming you're good at multitasking while that's happening in the first place. That's a really fucking bad change. So this could potentially be extremely, extremely powerful right here. So what do we have so far? We have Ashe possibly got buffed out the wazoo, and it looks like Baptiste absolutely got a killer ability now, which is absurd. Okay. Well, he's going to be played a lot more. I guess that's what you want, right, Blizzard? You want people to play him more. Good for you. Stat-based balancing. I've never actually considered Immortality Field to be OP. Or excuse me, underbuffed. I've never thought that Immortality Field should be buffed. That is insane. That is incredible. I don't understand, guys. Sojourn, or excuse me, Kirikos still needs her Senzu Bean nerfed and needs to have the invulnerability removed from it. There's 4 different effects. Invulnerability needs to be removed. We talked about that a couple different times, mainly because it'll fuck up ults on a 15-second cooldown. It'll just fuck up your ult. And it shouldn't do that. It should not completely negate someone's ult on a 15-second cooldown. Normally, healers, like Lucio's Beat Drop, Zen's Transcendence, was something they have to cast, and it's something you have to cast, build up and go to. Kiriko's Senzu Bean is just something she can cast every 15 seconds. It does a lot of stuff. Preventing last hits when she teleports in, and basically that's enough time, 0.75 seconds is enough time to heal up whoever is hurt, to the point at which if you are flanking, you're not going to be able to kill them. It is an absolutely broken ability. It still is broken, and that's putting aside the cleanse, which is the main effect, which is what it's supposed to be known for, which can do things like remove Zarya's ult or Reinhardt's ult. Putting that aside, it's the 0.75 seconds of invulnerability that needs to go away. Let's see it. Have anything interesting for fixes? Okay. Let's take a look at the Reddit and see what the kids are talking about there. Baptiste looks like he was significantly buffed. Fixed a bug where penguins were missing noise when being hit with projectiles. I'm glad the important posts are at the top here. I am glad the important posts are at the top. I'd assume Bob acted like Torb's turret and preferring shots? No. Ashe's ult has always been inconsistent. What do you consider inconsistent? 366 points? You mean because you can't just use it? An incredibly, incredibly powerful ult, you can't just use it to insta-kill someone? Fat Sojourn? Thick Sojourn, yeah. Talking about goddamn Bap. Buff. Larger buff to tanks. Yes, it is. Insane. I'll give it a week or two until people start complaining about Immortality Field. I'm already complaining about it, or noticing that it's unbalanced. Always ahead of the curve, guys. We already know that Immortality Field is going to be broken. Good for them. Oh my god. I mean, it shouldn't have been buffed in the first place, so yeah, people are going to complain about it. Man, does Bap really need to have Immortality Field? He gives people alongside damage as good as a DPS? playing now. Talking about Mystery Heroes, which is a pretty shit game mode. Orisa nerf's Sombra buff is huge. Yeah, it is, because it's not her ultimate. It's not EMP. If it was EMP, I'd see that. If it is her hack, why? Why did they need to do that? Like, that's just giving someone a band-aid to fix or deal with Orisa. I don't think that was the answer to Orisa being too powerful if that was the case. If Orisa was too powerful, giving one hero the ability to deal with her is not the answer. Who fucking came up with that? Why? Any ult should have been hackable, it should have been Ramada's. No one's ult should be hackable. No one's ult should be hackable except maybe with EMP. You can counter someone's hack with EMP. Because this comment is old. It's next to impossible. Next to impossible with the post being out this long to actually possibly start your own. You have to respond to someone else in order to actually get up votes. Make you feel way less janky? Yeah. I don't know, I looked at the practice range and direction change is pretty drastic in my opinion. It's probably more so with the fact that people are always used to being forward and up and you basically have to dance as fair and do one of these things. And it's probably more like one of these things now, which is what you want, because she had a lot of problems with agility in there. When Echo is attacking you, or Mercy is coming at you with her Q on, you just land on the ground and you 80 strafe on the ground because you can dodge a lot faster on the ground than you can in the air, which is what I do. Which is infuriating, but that's where we're at, so. I've never actually asked someone to switch off BAP. I've never heard anyone actually ask someone to switch off BAP. Buttons. What is it called where the effect falls off over distance? You had to watch one Twitch e-girl for the rest of your life, who'd you choose? I wouldn't choose any Twitch e-girl. I don't watch Twitch e-girls. Occasionally I watch Amaranth just to see how she's milking people for money. That's from a business perspective, because I actually think that's actually pretty ingenious. She makes bank doing what she does, but other than that, e-girls do not appeal to me. I think I have only... How many chicks do I have that I've followed? Putting aside Amaranth, which I said for the aforementioned reason. I don't think I have any. I don't think I watch any female streamers at all on Twitch. They just aren't worth watching. People watch them because they're kind of love interest for the most part. I'm sure there's people that watch them because they actually really enjoy them or whatever, but for me personally, like, I don't enjoy their gameplay, and usually they don't really have much of a personality, or if they do, they just try to be grating or aggressively offensive is usually the go-to, where they'll just, emasculating guys sort of shit, and not really into that. Some guys are. I'm not really into that. Some women are too. Yeah, but yeah, there aren't any I watch. Occasionally I'd watch, I think Smashly is someone I still follow. Occasionally I watch her, but I don't think I've even watched her recently. It just seems an awful lot like sometimes women will, on Twitch for instance, will be excessively perverted just to kind of rile you a bit and make you think you have a chance at something, when in fact there's no chance in any way, shape, or form that you'd ever get into their pants in any way, shape, or form. But they'll try to be excessively perverted because they know guys are hard up for that sort of thing. For instance, you had to, if not if you want to. I think there's a... I don't know. I don't really, like I said, I don't really watch e-girls, so there really isn't any... Like, even Amaranth I don't really watch normally, so I wouldn't want to watch her all the time. I mean, if you just pick an option, Amaranth, then I guess. If it's just check one box here, Amaranth. There's some that have been on other people's streams, which are kind of enjoyable to listen to, but then you go and watch their stream and they're kind of cardboard cutouts, and as such, not really all that interesting. They just kind of... They're interesting because they're actually playing with another streamer, not necessarily because they themselves are interesting individuals. I'm sure they're out there. I don't go to my way to watch them. I don't think... I don't really, like, in general, I don't really go after the mainstream Twitch viewership. Like, there's a lot of young kids on here, and I'm not really... There's a lot of weird shit that the kids will watch, and they think it's entertaining, but you can tell, like, when they're made for, like, younger audiences, the kind of things that they do. They love watching TikTok reacts. They love memes, especially memes. Memes and TikTok reacts. They love that shit. Because, oh my god, TikTok reacts. Oh my god, this guy reacted to something I found funny and it made me giggle. While their brain's turned off and they're just constantly pushing the button on their phone. Hog rework halfway through the season. Improved competitive match quality. Why is this so vague? Played at lunch, got absolutely steamrolled with a massive tank diffs. Yeah. Nothing about the cast grenade, the aimbot grenade? Weird. Literally a flying heat-seeking missile? Yeah. It's not even a grenade, it's a heat-seeking missile. They should call it a heat-seeking missile, and they don't. They call it a grenade. I'm your favorite Twitch e-girl. Oh my god, Bendy Ice, thank you! Aw, thanks for being here. Heart, 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 heart. I think that actually is like the way to go right now is actually to be female. First off, be female, and then also be VTuber. So be someone that has a succubus model or something like that, and then act super perverted. Kids love that shit. They just sit and chat all the time, fapping to the model. And for the chick, it's not really that big of a deal because they aren't even on screen. So, yeah. It's like Amaranth without actually having to have a body of Amaranth. I actually talked about it at one point. I thought about remaking my channel and being a VTuber, and I mentioned this before. If you get started on Twitch, probably one of the ways of getting started on Twitch right now is to either do RP or be a VTuber. And male VTubers are not the same thing. It doesn't even matter if you're a chick. You just need to act like one. It doesn't matter if you're a chick. If your sole goal on being on Twitch is to make money, you just could be a mute. You can be a mute VTuber and have like a voice translator, or use a voice to a text or voice to speech. Use a voice to speech add-on. So it will go voice to text to voice or voice to text and put it on the screen and be a mute VTuber, and you're just a guy. It doesn't matter because people watch you anyways. I think there are actually some VTubers on Twitch that are actually guys, but they have a female model. I think I remember watching one. It was a trip, but yeah. Honestly, this is the best state the game has been in since launch Overwatch 2. I don't think you've ever died to the heat-seeking McCree grenade. Yeah, and I think they actually nerfed it. I think they stealth nerfed McCree's missile grenade, and the reason for that is because it won't always lock on now. It's like they changed the minimum lock-on distance for it, so it's further, but it'll still track you to the ends of the earth. So it has to be closer to your proximity. Because I've seen them throw near me where they used to lock on before, and now they don't do that. Like, especially around corners. Okay. Alrighty, guys. We're going to turn this into a highlight and upload it to the tubies.